So we're sitting here talking about the Woodchuck, which is the first machine that we designed at Lemming Robotics. I do the software side of it, and Zachariah does the mechanical side of it.
Yeah, it's a automated mobile stud cutter.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it. We built it in such a way so that it is helpful. We've framed houses. We have a construction company. We use this piece of equipment in the construction company, and we have all kinds of projects that we've got coming up into the future. In relative to the Woodchuck, one of the things that we've done is we've built in some optimization. It's not overly complicated. It's basically looking ahead at all the cuts that exist in the cut queue. So we have this notion of a cut queue, which is where all the cuts wind up that come from either the interface or we have a couple of different interfaces. One's for single cuts, and one is for windows. And Zachariah does the design work on that, which is real nice because I'm not very effective at it. But what we do is once we've figured out what kind of cuts need to be made, we go ahead and basically put it in a file, and that's our cut queue. But when the Woodchuck runs, go ahead.
Well, and the whole idea behind the optimization is we started with saying like, okay, if we were gonna, I started using a piece of software called OptiCutter.
Yep.
And OptiCutter is all linear optimization.
But it's very nice.
It is.
Piece of software.
Yeah, if anybody wants to have organized cuts, I would highly recommend OptiCutter.
Yep. They have great interface. It looks good. So we went with that notion, and our original plan that we developed, we wound up with a static optimization. In other words, with the Woodchuck, you can enter the height and the width of windows as well as some other data, and we were optimizing at that point. And then after some testing...
But at that point, we initially started with a full linear optimization like OptiCutter. And the big problem there was from a workflow perspective.
Yes.
We label our windows A through Z. And so if you optimize the entire window pack, we had cuts coming out with window A and Windows Z.
Yeah, it makes it a little confusing.
Which is awesome from a efficiency perspective, but from a work perspective, from the framer, it's a nightmare.
Well, and that's kind of how OptiCutter works too. It's more of a static animal where it wants all the data up front, which in a manufacturing process or a shop floor, it's fantastic. The challenge that you face and that we face sort of technologically with what we're doing at Lemming Robotics is we've got 1 foot in one world and 1 foot in another world. So we're trying to make life a little bit easier at the end of things that are more custom, I guess, is what you may call it, or it's not this repeated over and over shop floor kind of notion.
Yeah, it's basically kind of partnering with subcontractors or tradesmen in their specific trade to just make a slightly more advanced tool than they currently have. Because for us, like we've been building long enough, it's like this is still caveman technology.
It kind of is.
Not really, but the last advancement was basically the electric skill saw.
Or cordless, I guess you could argue, the cordless stuff that our framers use now. Which is good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's very slow advance. Anyway, long and the short of it is that we were working with more of a static optimization, and after a little bit of work decided, we need to move into dynamic optimization. So whatever winds up in the cut queue, we go ahead and look ahead basically in that queue, and we look for cuts that will make whatever's left in our cut bay, if you will, the most efficient use of that.
Yeah, so like let's say that we've cut all the parts for window A, and you're using 100% 104 and 5/8 inch pre-cut studs,
Yeah.
and there's 100 or let's say 90 inches left from
Right.
cutting all of window A, we go into window B and say, how do we optimally use this 100 inches for the parts
Well,
of,
the 90 inches that's left over.
sorry,
No,
90
that's okay.
for window B.
Right.
And then we nest those parts, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of an optimization that's, if you were running a CNC, you'd be nesting multiple parts next to each other to get the maximum use out of that product. So, and it works real well, and we can adjust it. I mean, we can adjust it to, look ahead 10 or 20 or whatever we want. So it's customizable as far as being able to say, fine tuning it, if you will.
Yeah, and the last house that you built, or it's in construction right now, but we just generically ran numbers through
Oh, yeah.
the software.
That was fun.
Yeah, and then we linearly ran it through OptiCutter.
Yeah.
We were the same margin of scrap.
It was actually almost identical to
Yeah.
but it wasn't static, which was
No.
interesting.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of nice. So OptiCutter's a little bit more on the static side, and we're a little bit more on the dynamic side. So, but it makes effective use and minimizes your cutoffs. It's no different than what your framers would do. It's just being done in a more automatic manner.
Well, it's more efficient for sure.
Yeah, because you're not looking around a pile of wood for scrap and saying, okay, I need a bunch of point loads to be carried down the subfloor down to the foundation. I need, 30, 11 and a half inches or 11 and 7/8 or whatever it would be, depending on the size of your floor joist as an example. So,
Yeah, it just does that all automatically, and so you end up with really low scrap. So if you're a builder or a framer, this has applicability for both categories.
oh, absolutely.
Because as a framer, you could go to your general contractor and say,
Yep.
hey, we're really efficient. We don't make we
Yep.
make a minimal amount of scrap.
Absolutely.
And then if you're a builder, you could go to your framer and say, hey, would you be interested in using this
Yeah.
machine because it helps us save on cost in scrap.
Well, not only that, has this cascading effect. Anywhere we can be efficient, and that's really, it's a logistical sort of exercise, maybe even charter for Lemming Robotics. But when you start reducing that scrap, now I have a dumpster I don't have to empty that's got as much stuff in it. So I save some money there. And so there's a lot of advantages in moving forward with a technology like this that would help the whole process of framing a house be more cost-effective, quicker. Well, there's a lot of benefits.
Yes. So that's how the optimization works.
That's what we got going.